Yeah, it's good.
Boom. Okay, live at 5. There it is. Okay.
All right, says redirecting to YouTube, so it'll be any second now. And there it is. All right, all right. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. It's live at 5 again, as usual. If you are here, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. I'm getting an ad. I'm going to say no, thank you. There we go. So if you're here, go ahead and I was about to say tap in because that's one way to say it. Let us know that you're here in the chat. Say hello. Let us know how you're doing. If you have any updates, we want to hear them, especially if you guys have updates about your SMART goals. We've been working on SMART goals lately. So if you guys have any updates about your SMART goals, let us know because we want to keep up and make sure it's going okay for you. Mine are going all right. I have a few more things I need to get for my house, but all in all, it's going just fine.
Awesome.
I got a lot of the bigger items that I needed, and because of that, I'm trying not to spend money for a very, very long time. That was what furniture is so expensive. Glenda's here. Hey, Glenda.
Hey, Glenda.
So not thrilled about how expensive it was, but hey, that's life, and that's what we have jobs for, is to meet needs.
Right. Do you like your new furniture though?
Oh yeah, I love it. I got a big old chair that's very comfortable and very soft, so I'm excited about that.
Awesome.
I got a TV stand down the road from Immerse at the Habitat for Humanity Restore. It's awesome. I love it, and I take youth all the time if they need cheap furniture there. So
cool.
I definitely looked into that place and got some good stuff. So
very cool. Awesome.
My goals are going all right. Glenda, you want to give us an update on your goals, your SMART goals? We'll give her a second to type it in.
Perfect. Going back and forth here between computer and iPad today.
Yeah, I'm going back and forth. I got both laptops up because I want to watch the stream on one, and you might be able to hear it. I muted it. Okay, there we go. Because I want to be able to look at I want to be able to tune into the Zoom call so I can know if people are trying to join us on the Zoom, but I want to be able to look at the YouTube feed as well. So double dipping. Usually I use my phone, but I got both laptops today. So yeah. All right. So big things as far as announcements is that you guys keep us updated on your SMART goals, how that's going for you. And again, just wanted to give a reminder about Work Hard, Play Harder, which is the trip I've been telling you guys about the past few weeks. For those of you that are working part-time, so about 20 hours a week, as long as you can prove that you're going to work, it's like a pay stub or a copy of your work schedule, we're going to take you on a weekend trip to Branson. Woo! So it's going to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I know a few of you guys are working, so you guys need to take advantage of that. Get with your coach. If I'm your coach, then you get with me. If I'm not, you got your coach's number probably. Just reach out and ask some more questions. But we're trying to make it as easy for you guys as we can. So that is all I've got. I am going to individually text out the link to a few people that join us just to remind them.
Cool.
We'll go ahead and started. So then after that, we'll be good to go.
Awesome.
Today we're going to be talking about negotiation techniques, right?
Oh, yes.
I'm excited. Yes.
I love negotiating techniques. So there's a book that I actually, that I've read several negotiation books, but there's one that I really, really like. It's by an author called Chris Voss. And he's a former FBI interrogator. And he wrote this book called Never Split the Difference. So a lot of the strategies and stuff that we're going to talk about come from that book. It's a really good book. It's a really good book.
That is awesome. I'm excited for sure. I don't know much about negotiation, so
I
catch
like
me
it because
tuning in.
it's this constant like challenge, you know, so it's something that's not, oh, hey, Regina.
Regina, hi, girl.
Okay, you ready?
All righty. I think we can go ahead and get started, and we'll probably have some more join us, but that's totally fine.
Great, perfect. So tonight is about negotiation. And what I want you to think about is like, if you had to put yourself into a situation where you had to negotiate for your life, that's really what we're talking about. Every single day you negotiate. You negotiate with your friends, you negotiate with your family, you negotiate with your coach, you negotiate with your boss. And it could look like a little bit of anything. It could be that your kids want chicken nuggets for dinner and you have to negotiate with them. Sometimes you just put down your foot and say you're the boss, but sometimes you have to negotiate. So that's really what we're talking about, is just not only just everyday life negotiation, but what about like, how do you negotiate when you want a new car or you want a higher salary? So we're going to dive right in. So there's a few things that negotiation, there's some confusion on, right? So one of the things is that negotiation is not about beating the other person. It's not being like, hey, I'm better at this than you. I win. I feel better about this, right? The goal is that everybody has this primal instinct. Let me say that. They want to feel understood and accepted, right? Everybody has that feeling. Everybody wants to know that they are getting a fair deal. They're in control of the situation, right? If you go to buy a car and you feel like you got a fair deal, then you feel like you won, right? So, and it's this whole tactic of negotiation of the salespeople and how they negotiate with you. And they use a lot of factors that you've probably seen before. They listen to you and they show empathy. And those same tactics work for you. And we'll give you some like some real stuff that you can work with. But before you start negotiating, though, you want to learn as much as possible about the situation, right? So let's use that used car. Let's say you're not going to a car dealership. Let's just say you're going to buy a car from somebody, right? And if I was going to go buy a car from somebody, I would buy a car differently if I knew that the person had another car and they weren't really in a hurry to sell it. They didn't have a need, versus somebody that's moving to New York City and they have to sell their car before they leave and they're leaving tomorrow, right? Those are two very different situations, right? And one of them, one of them, somebody is probably going to have a higher price on their car. If they've got another car and they're not in a huge hurry, then they're not really going to be in that kind of negotiation space where they're going to come down to a price that you probably think is fair, right? And we'll talk a lot about the word fair too. Fair, that's why it's in quotations here. But if somebody's moving to New York and you find that out and they can't take their car with them, then you have a lot more control and power in that negotiation strategy, right? So, and it's the same with your job. It's the same it's all about in how you phrase it. If you've been working in the same job for about a year and you know that if you leave, that it would leave a hole in that, yes, they could train somebody else, to do your job. But if you negotiate with them because you already know how to do it and you know that they would have to spend more money to train somebody how to do your job, and you're already a good employee, you want to feel more valued, right? And that's a lot of what negotiation comes back to. So one of the first things of negotiation is you smile. You're you're always smiling, even if you're over the phone. And we've talked about this before. I know I've heard Lindsay talk about it almost every presentation. Smiling always gives you a more positive, playful tone in how you're talking to people. There are other tones that you sometimes want to use, but in general, almost all the time, you want to smile. So that way, you have this positive, playful tone. It seems like you are innocent, that you're just trying to figure out what the best deal is, what do you want for it? And you put empathy in them. So back to that car example, if you're smiling and you find out that you find out a little bit about them. I mean, you're not just going to say, hey, how much do you want for that car? And they say, oh, $5,000. And you say, okay, I'll give you $2,000. Well, they're going to get very defensive, right? So you have to just be like, hey, oh man, I only have $2,000, but I can pay you cash today. Or, so if you're smiling and you have this positive, playful, and you have your palms out, then your whole attitude and demeanor is different, right? It's a lot harder to be mad at somebody if they're smiling, right? If you genuinely have this kind of positive, playful tone, then it's hard to get frustrated and upset. It's harder to get frustrated and upset, right? So one of the next big rules of negotiation is to slow it down. Just like that. Just like that snail. Slow it down. If you're in a rush to get it done, then you're not going to get the best deal you can for yourself. So people are uncomfortable when there's silence. People feel the need to just fill the space with air, So if you are trying to learn about the situation, so if I'm trying to buy that car from somebody and they probably are not going to say, hey, I have to sell my car by tomorrow, because now they know that they've given up all their cards, right? So sometimes you have to ask a question and you have to figure out, Reniqua is joining us. I think so. Did I say accept? Maybe. I don't know. There she is. Okay. Hey. People are uncomfortable when there's silence, and they often give up these gems of information. So if you slow it down and you let them just provide that information to you, you just say, hey, why are you selling this? And let them talk about it and be like, oh, okay, can you tell me more? And just wait. And if you ask open-ended questions, so a good way to get them to open up is to give a whole bunch of open-ended questions like, oh, well, how can I do that? And we'll talk a little bit more about how and what questions pull information out of somebody, so what do you know about the car? How long have you had the car? How much information can you share with me about the repairs that have been done? So open-ended questions, people just can't say yes or no. You can't, if I say, how much can you tell me about the car? They're not going to say, yes, it's a car. So they're going to say, oh, well, I bought it a few years ago, and I had to replace the transmission, or I had to have some motor work or whatever, So, and you say, and that leads us to the next one, right? Oh, mirror the things that they're saying. People like to hear that you are listening to them. It makes them feel that you are listening, that you are being empathetic, that you are hearing what they are saying. So if you say something, if they say, yeah, I had to replace the motor a few years ago, but it works great, everything is fine, right? Then that's a key for you to say, replace the motor. And and I know it sounds weird, I know it sounds crazy, But, you know, just right there, like, I know that sounded weird coming out of my mouth, but when you're in a normal conversation, people they don't even recognize it. You know, and I've used this with my bosses, I've used it with my CEOs, I've used it across the board. And it works. I've used it with Lindsay. Don't tell her. But it does, it really works. And you say, replace the motor, and you put it in the phrase of a question mark, and you say, and they're like, oh yeah, you know, I had to replace the motor blew up, but I bought this used motor, and they start giving you more information. And you're like, used motor? And you just wait. You just let it, and they're like, yeah, it was a used motor from one, you know, it had 100,000 miles on it, but the guy certified it, and it's been running great for 3 years. Oh, okay, great. So you got a whole bunch more information by just mirroring what they said. You didn't ask a question. You didn't say, oh, tell me more about that. Oh, you know, it's this natural inclination for people to just give information to you if you just show that you are listening to them and that you are being empathetic to their needs. Labeling is very important when you are negotiating. So if you figure out that somebody is moving or something, so back to the car example, right? If they're like, it's like, oh yeah, I need to sell my car because I'm moving. You say moving, so that's mirroring, right? And you find yeah, I'm moving up to New York, and I can't afford parking up there, so I've got to sell my car, and I've got to do it, quickly. And then you can use a label and say, oh, it seems like you really need this money because you're moving soon. So you now labeled their feelings. You've now recognized the fact, you've mirrored them, you've recognized that fact that you're listening to them, and now you're labeling their feelings, right? It seems like, it sounds like, right? And so in worst case, the worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to come back and say, no, I'm not moving soon, right? I'm actually moving in 6 weeks. Well, you just found out some more information about it, right? So that's really the whole point of negotiation, is that they don't tell you everything that you need to know. Same thing if you go to a car dealership instead of from a person, it's the same thing, right? They're not going to tell you their bottom dollar. Their job is to get as much money as possible from you. Your job is to get the best deal that you can, right? So it's the same thing. It's using that information, and drawing that information out, using these tactics and drawing that information out, right? So and best case, right? Best case, you label their feelings, and they say, oh yeah. So it seems like you need this money because you're moving soon. Yeah, I'm moving, I'm moving really soon. I'm actually moving next week. I'm moving up there because my girlfriend's moving up there, or because I have family up there, or whatever, and I've really got to sell this car. Oh, boom. So now you figured out what their needs are, right? And that their most important thing is not necessarily getting top dollar for the vehicle. It's to get as much as they can, but that way they can move on, and because otherwise they don't sell their vehicle and they don't get anything. The longer they wait, right, then the less likely they are to sell it for as much money. So it's all about using this negotiation strategy. And here's the thing, is at the end of the day, is if you say, if it's a $5,000 car and you say, I will give you $3,500 for it cash today, right? And they say yes, then they feel like they got a good deal. You feel like you got a good deal, and everybody's happy. Something else you can use is called start with no. So everybody thinks that you're trying to get to the yes, right? Yes. So, but if you think about it, right? So think about like a telemarketer. And they use this in this book that I was telling you guys about. But think about a telemarketer. If they call you, right, and you pick up the phone, and it's like, they will ask some crazy question. Like, so let's say it's for a political, somebody calling about political campaign, right? They will say something about, do you believe in making America better? Well, yes, of course I do. Yes, right? But it's a very ineffective strategy, because you are giving away. You're not in control of the situation because they'll ask another question and it'll lead down this yes. So you'll notice like people are really changing their tactics to where you start with no instead. And I'll give you a few examples. By saying no first, you've now given them the sense that they are in control, right? So I can say something like, hey, Casey, or I pick up the phone. Hey, Casey, is now a bad time? Why, no, Josh, no, it's not. It's a great time. Oh, great. So now I've given Casey that sense of control. She's in control. She seems like she's in control of the situation when really she might not be, right? Because it's this false sense that somebody is in control by starting with no. No is a word of power, right? So you are giving somebody power to say no. People want the ability to say no. And we'll talk about that when we talk about the word fair here shortly too. But when you get, if you do get a no response, then there's ways of getting around it. If somebody says, no, I can't take 3,500 for that car, okay? Then say, oh, okay. So this is where you go back to your open-ended questions. What about this doesn't work for you? Right? They can't say a yes or no response. They have to give you more information. And I just can't take that much, right? Or I can't go that low. Oh, okay. What do you need to make this work? And they may come back with $4,000. Okay, and we'll talk about strategies on numbers to use too. But so they may come back with $4,000, and you say, oh, how can I make that work? I can't pull that much out of my bank today, or whatever, right? Whatever it is, but it's open-ended questions draw information out of people. Okay, so there's three types of true yes responses. There's a counterfeit response, a counterfeit yes, which is really that it's an escape route. They're trying to say yes so they can buy time to figure out a way around it. So if you go to your boss and you're like, hey, can I have a raise? And they don't have time to deal with you right now, they might say, yes, we'll work on that later. Okay, that's a counterfeit yes. That's something. And then they can always come back and be like, hey, no, I talked about it with my boss and we just really can't do raises right now, right? So you don't know that yes is really a yes. It could be what's called a counterfeit yes. There's a confirmation yes, which is it's a yes that doesn't have any action. So back to, hey, do you believe in making America better? Yes, I do. Okay, well, there's no action with that. There's no promise of action with me saying, yes, I believe in making America better, right? So that's why those confirmation yeses don't work very well. And then there's a true commitment yes, which is where, yes, I agree with what you are saying, and yes, I will do something about it. Yes, I will pay you $3,500 for that used car, right? So the next, what you really want instead of a yes is that's right. When you get to a that's right answer, you know that you've hit the bullseye. So that's right is a good wholehearted agreement, right? Oh, it seems like you have to sell this car quickly because you can't take it to New York. That's right. That's a true yeah. And they may say yes there, but a lot of the times you'll see people will say, yes, that's right. So now you've got to the real root cause of what they're trying to do, right? So now you know, and you have the leverage to make that decision. Deadlines. So if you create the false sense of a deadline, then you are putting extra pressure. So it's the same thing with a used car salesman at a car lot. They may say, I can only guarantee this price until the end of the day, right? No, they can't. They can guarantee it for as long as they want. They're giving you a false deadline, right? But it makes you think, oh man, I've got to make a decision, right? You can do that same thing. You can say, oh, hey, I like this car. I really like this car. I'll give you $3,500 for it. I know that's, you can even say things like, I know that's embarrassing, you know, that's what I have, you know, but, and if they come back and you say, or if you then say something like, you know, I understand if you can't do it, I need to know quickly, right? Because there's another car that I'm going to go see after this. I really want this one, you know, but if I can't make it work, then I need to go get this other one, right? So you've created now that false deadline for them. And they have to make a decision, right? And they may come back and say something uh, okay, I can do 3,700 or 3,600. The thing is that, and we'll get to what's called an anchor number here in a second too. But you know, you never start with the number that you really want, right? So if your top number is 3,500, then you don't go in and say, I'll give you 3,500, right? That's not your first number that you go in at, right? So because they're going to counter, that's almost a given. They're almost always going to counter. But those deadlines make people act impulsively, right? So you can do those same kind of deadlines, used car salesman or this other, you know, if you're buying it from a person, you can tell them, hey, you know, I know you have goals that you have to meet. You know, you're a used car salesman. I understand that. And I know it's the end of the month. I'm happy, you know, I can help you sell this car today. I will buy this car for $3,500, right? So you create the deadline for them. Loss aversion, FOMO. Everybody knows FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. So people are they will take more risks to avoid loss than they will to realize a gain. If they feel like they are losing, then they will take more risks, right? So make sure you feel like, or that when they're walking away, they feel like there's something that's going to be lost by not making that decision, right? You can sell that car today to me. I will sell it to you, or I will buy it from you today. But if you can't, then I have to go buy this other one because I've looked at it. I like this one better, but I have to have a car tomorrow, right? So you're reversing the roles. You may not necessarily have to have a car tomorrow, but you've now reversed those roles of I am walking away from this if you don't, right? So there's that fear of missing out. They are more apt to react and give you something of, hey, no, maybe I can't do it for 35, but I'll do it for 36, you know, or whatever, and you'll come to a closer agreement, if that makes sense. So if you show them that FOMO, that fear of missing out, like, hey, I've got to make a decision. I'm sorry, you know, and you set those deadlines and they know that you're real, like I'm going to walk away from this, then there you go. Fair. Okay, so fair is a hard word in negotiations. There's a couple of ways that you can use fair, really 3 separate ways. You can use it as what's called a defensive move, okay? And you say, well, we just want what's fair, right? So you immediately put somebody on guard because then you're saying, by you saying, we just want what's fair, then they're saying, oh, you're not being fair, right? That's what they hear when you say, we just want what's fair. So in that situation though, what's going to happen is that you're going to rattle them and they're probably going to raise their counter offer, okay? Because they're going to see that, no, I was being fair, right? So it can be used very strategically in that defensive situation, though. But how you handle that is you just say, okay, I'm sorry. Let's start back to where I started treating you unfairly, and we'll fix it, right? So you can reverse that role. So if you just say, if they're like, no, I just want what's fair. So if you're on that other side, right? That's really, instead of getting defensive, that's your response back to that person. So if you're selling the car and they just say, we just want what's fair, you can say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that we were being unfair. Let's go back, diffuse the situation, right? And we'll fix it. It can be used as a nefarious accusation. So just an accusation, right? We're giving you a fair offer. Okay. That's a jab that's really meant to distract your attention. Okay. It's a negotiation tactic that we're being fair. We've now labeled that we're being fair. So how you can answer that is back to that mirroring question. Fair? And you wait, and they say, yes, that's a very fair offer. That's what the market is going for. You know, we looked it up on Kelley Blue Book, and this car is valued at $5,000. That's a fair deal, right? And then you can always say, if they don't provide more information, you can say and label it and say, it seems like you're ready to provide evidence that supports that, right? So now you're using your mirroring techniques. You're using your labeling techniques. And again, slowing it down allows you to stop and think about this. And then you can use fair as a positive. I want you to feel, you can start at the very beginning, right? And say, hey, I want you to feel this entire time that we're talking about this, that we're trying to sell this, I want you to feel that you're being treated fairly. If at any time you don't feel that way, please stop me and we will address it. Right? Because now at the very beginning, that person's like, oh, okay, you want me to feel like I'm being treated fairly. You care about what I'm saying. Okay, great. So now you've given them permission to tell you if they think it's not fair, right? So you've now diffused part of the situation. Okay, and then the very last thing that we're going to talk about is setting an extreme anchor, okay? And you can do this as a range as well, but there's actually a few different techniques you can use here. So if we say the car is $5,000, okay? Then you always want to start with what's called an extreme anchor and say, I can't give you 5,000. However, I will offer 3,500, right? So, and you typically use what's called the 65, 85, 95% rule. 65, 85, 95. And then 100% is actually not the top number. It's not $5,000. 100% is actually your top number that you're willing to give. Okay. So let's say that top number is $4,000. So I would do $4,000 times 65%. That's my extreme anchor. That's the low. That's where I start. Okay. So, and they may come back of whoa, like very defensive. That's way too low. And say, that's where you go back to mirroring and labeling, and say, if they say that's too low, you can just say, too low? Yes, we made you a very fair offer. Fair? And that's where you go back to, again, you're in control. And it sounds like it doesn't work, but I promise you it does work. So, and then another thing you can do is a range to seem less aggressive. So if you're trying to negotiate your salary for a new job, you can provide a range. And you never go in with, you always have what you're wanting to make at the lower end of that range. Okay, so if you're wanting to make $20 an hour, then you may give a range of $20 an hour to $25 an hour. I've done some research online, and it seems like the going rate for this job is $20 to $25 an hour, right? Then they say, oh, no, this is a $15 an hour job. And you say 15, and it seems like you have evidence to prove that, right? And it's not a defensive strategy. It's not a defensive move. Right? They're very open about it normally, and they'll talk to you about it. And you're able to use those tactics to negotiate the best deal for yourself. So that is really negotiation. And we'll send this presentation out. It's a lot. And if anybody wants the book, let me know. It's a great book. If you do audio book, I'm happy to share that with you. If you guys want, I'll go buy you one of the books. so you can read it. But it's a really, really good book. Again, it's called Never Split the Difference. There's a couple of others too that I really like, but Never Split the Difference is the name of the book that I think is the best one. So, does anybody have any questions?
Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any questions? We got some stuff going on in the chat.
Yeah, see
Asking
that.
people about what they think, and Glenda thinks it's interesting. I agree. I think it is as well. This is interesting timing too. So as you guys know, my SMART goal is to get some furniture up in my house. And due to that, I've been dabbling in some Facebook Marketplace transactions.
There you go.
So this would have been great for me to use before buying. I got a table for a great price that I love, and then I have another one in the living room. But this would have been great to know before that. So in the future, I'm definitely going to use some of these tactics. I personally don't do the best with, like, I feel confrontational whenever I'm negotiating. I gotta get that out of my head, because it's not confrontational, it's business. And even on Marketplace, it says like asking price. So it's not saying this is how much it is. This is what they're asking. You're supposed to negotiate. But of course I didn't. So I was like, I need furniture, and stuff on Marketplace goes so quickly. So I was like, I feel like I would negotiate, but I also don't want to, because I really want these items. And if I don't get them, they're going to get snatched up. So it was a lot to think about. So.
Absolutely. And that's part of the demand too, you know? So, and I actually just sold my truck not too long ago on Facebook Marketplace. So, and one of the guys I had the minimum that I was willing to take for it. And I ended up making more than what my minimum was, because I used a lot of these tactics. Like, how can I do that? You know, and how can I said, because he's like, well, I'll offer you this number, and it was below the market of what the truck was worth. And I said, how can I sell it below market? He's like, oh yeah, you can't do that. So it works out. This stuff really works, you know. If you and it does take time. It takes practice. So Casey, one of the things I will do is I'll send. There's this what's called negotiation one sheet that he has for free on his website for this book, and it's literally just it goes back to preparing, right? You prepare for your negotiation. It's if you are going in unprepared, then you are probably not going to be successful, right? So, and I'm doing this right now because we're looking at doing some work on our house, doing some interior and exterior stuff. So I'm preparing using this one sheet of, well, how can I do that? And starting to think through that negotiation. So I'll send that as part of the slides and stuff that you can send out to everybody.
Yeah, please do. We will post it on the Facebook page, and I will send it out to those of you that attended tonight, just so you can get some more information.
Awesome. Very cool.
Definitely.
Do we have any questions? I don't see any.
I put it out there, and I'm not seeing anything right now. But this is pretty cool. It's gotten me thinking a lot about what I'm going to do in the future when I buy things off of Facebook Marketplace. And for a lot of things I bought, I had to drive a really long time. I was like, I wonder if I could use that. Like, I drove to Searcy to get one item. So I was like, I kind of wonder if I, since I'm driving to get it, if they'd lower the price a little bit. But I didn't ask. I didn't want to. I would do it differently in the future. So
absolutely. You can, and that's the kind of stuff you can do. You can do it with just about anything like it. And it's really cool. So if you see that one of the tires needs to be replaced on one of the cars, you can say, oh, how can I buy it for full price, when I got to replace this tire shortly, so, and it's just very kind of like defenseless strategy, and it works really well. It does. So if anybody ever wants to there's Cheyenne, she said something. Connect all the dots. Okay, cool. Cool. So yeah, if anybody ever wants to go through, I'm happy to come by the OC and do some negotiation 101 with people. just some one-on-one, hey, I'm trying to negotiate for a job or a car or whatever, and I'm happy to do it.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
Cool.
fantastic. That's definitely a good resource that we can use we can use you for that in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Very
Awesome.
cool. Awesome.
Well, I don't see that there are any questions right now. So with that, if you're good, Josh, we might start wrapping up.
I'm good.
Okay.
Good to go.
Cool. Tell Lindsay we missed her.
I will.
We're glad we got you though. We haven't heard from you in a bit, so this has been great.
I enjoyed it. This was great. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Those of you who attended, I'm glad you guys were here and are here right now. You know where to catch us next week at the exact same time and place. So we will see you guys then.